Happy New Year and welcome to 2022. I'm Ann Rossley with Bird& Warner, and I'm here today to talk to you about what's happening in Chicago real estate. Where are we at? Where are we going? And what can we expect in 2022? Well, we just came off a record year. I want to show you quickly in one chart what happened last year. We're going to look at two townships, North Chicago and Lakeview, and see just how much we had an increase in sales versus the previous year. First, North Chicago, which encompasses Lincoln Park, River North, Streeterville, and Gold Coast. That township was up 54% versus previous year, doing $4.1 billion in sales. As far as Lakeview Township, which is basically Fullerton to Devon, Lake Michigan to Western Avenue, that area was up 42% versus 2020. Wow, just staggering increases. So then, what is going to happen this year coming up? Well, the market people, it's all about interest rates and inventory, as well as COVID, unfortunately, but that's a big part of what's happening in the real estate market. Let's talk interest rates. 30-year fixed rates have been very accessible for buyers in recent years. Since 2016, we've seen them range between the high twos to the mid fours. Very good numbers for being able to buy a home. And this is historically low compared to what's happened over the last 40, 50 years in mortgage rates. Great time to be buying a home. Okay, let's look at inventory. Inventory is down 26% versus previous year. And if we look at the number of months of inventory for sale nationally, there are only 2.1 months worth of inventory. That means everything would sell out in 2 months if we didn't put anything else new on the marketplace. So Chicago, same thing is true. If you see this chart, you can see that the number of homes for sale is staggeringly low. Not surprisingly, this has resulted in an increase in prices. This chart shows year-over-year appreciation as a composite number for 20 cities in the US. And you can see that most recently, home prices were up 19% versus previous year. 19% appreciation in 1 year. That also is staggering. Now, I've had many people say to me, oh, what's going on in Chicago? I hear about all the news and blah, 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 and real estate's not doing well. Well, you know what? It's actually doing quite well and appreciation-wise as well. This chart here shows for all of Chicago, all property types, the median sales price is $335. That is an increase of 6.5 versus 2020. And that number was an increase of 6.7 versus 2019. So it's actually a very good increase, and it's been a good steady increase for the last 30 years. Now, if you look by township, these are the 4 townships closest to downtown. You can see that prices have increased between 7 and 32% year over year, with 10-year appreciating in a nice steady fashion. So why the boom? Why are we seeing this huge boom in real estate? Well, the first thing is pent-up demand. NAR tracks how many years people stay in their homes before moving. In 1985, just before I got into the business, people were staying in their homes for 5 years. And then it was typically 6, 7 years. And then once the 2008 financial crisis hit, things just came to a grinding halt. People were not able to get the prices out of their homes to make the moves. So rather than take a loss in sales, they stayed. It got to the place where people were staying in their homes 10 years instead of 5 years. So you can imagine what that did to the real estate market. Because of COVID, because people want to move to different locations, they're able to work at home because they want to live more differently, maybe have bigger space, more outdoor spaces. Everybody's deciding it's time to move. We have had the greatest decline in home ownership tenure this year than ever before since NAR has tracked this statistic. So let's look at showings. We can see the number of showings that take place on properties here. This is the showing time index of buyers looking for homes. And you can see that it has skyrocketed since the pandemic. Now, this statistic was started in 2014, and it is a baseline of 0, or rather 100 at January of 2014. And you can see that November showings of this year, 175, outpaced showings for November of last year, which was a high again of 157. So, excuse me, 156. Incredible numbers. Nationally, buyer traffic is strong just about in every state. So let's talk 2022. What's going to happen? Expect interest rates to tick up a bit, and expect by fourth quarter, we're going to be about the 3.7% in interest rates. Not enough to make a significant difference in purchases. Sales will continue to be strong. Higher than 2020, probably pretty similar to 2021. And the one thing holding us back, inventory and properties that will be available for sale. Home price forecasts vary from 2.8% in 2022 by National Association of Realtors up to over 7%. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are both predicting prices nationally to be going up over 7%. I think the thing to remember here is we're going to see prices going up more moderately than last year's 19% across the board, but they're still going to go up. Let's look at what this means for buyers. If you purchase a home today in January 2022 for $350,000, this is what the pundits predict you can anticipate. You should expect, based on the Home Price Expectations Survey, that prices will go up and that in 5 years, it can increase to $461,000. That would be an increase in home equity of $111,285. Now, unless you're paying for this home in cash, you're probably putting 10 or 20% down. So that $111,000 in increased equity is based on an investment of 20% or $70,000. What an investment homeownership can be. All right, so let's go through it really quickly. In Chicago, you should expect buyer interest to remain strong. Inventory is slow and low. And how many sales we get this year is going to be totally dependent on how many people decide to put their homes on the market. Interest rates will rise a bit. We anticipate seeing interest rates at 3.7% by the end of the year. And the biggest impediment to a record year in real estate sales this year is going to be inventory. So if you're thinking of selling but not sure how to make that happen, give me a call. Let's connect. I'm Ann Rossley with Beard & Warner Real Estate. Have a happy 2022.